So welcome along to A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin. This is mainly taken from my Radio Bath show every Thursday morning from 10 until 12. If you do like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to others, and let everyone know all about Radio Bath. Hope you enjoy it. Morning, everybody. Now, every track today, it's Richard Beauvoisin, by the way, here until midday. Every track today has been chosen by my guest, Pavel Douglas. He's sat opposite me right now. That's Melody Gardot and Preacher Man. Love that track. Really lovely track. If you have any questions for Pavel, he's an actor. Has one of the best voices I've ever heard in my life. He really does. If any questions for him, studio@radiobath.com, or you can text Bath followed by a message to 80011. He is here right until midday today. Good morning, everybody. It's Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today. Now, the first track is a track that my guest, the lovely Pavel Douglas. Good morning, Pavel.
Good morning, listeners to Radio Bath.
Oh, man, your voice is still annoying me. Do you know what annoys me?
What?
It's got that depth to it.
You know, but it's not popular for voicing anymore.
Is it not?
No, it's all like that now.
All like that?
Yeah, it's all like that
So
now.
my voice would be more popular than yours.
You should be doing commercials, yeah.
And here is Lady... No,
Yeah.
I often put on that silly radio voice sometimes. And here is Tears for Fears.
Oh, yes.
But I don't know why I do that. But Lorraine, our one of our founders, has just come in with some lovely gifts for us both for Valentine's.
Yep.
Now, hopefully my wife's not listening to this because I've now got a Valentine's gift for my wife. It's a little bag with love hearts and a chocolate love heart in it. So,
Well, you can give her mine as well, because I don't have a lover in my life.
Am I sorry to hear that? I don't know what the right answer to that is.
Should be.
Should I?
Yeah. Play the little violin.
There we go. Now, for those that weren't able to see me, I was playing a tiny violin on my shoulder. Yeah, it's great face for radio, that really was. Pavel Douglas, let's introduce you very quickly. I've still got you were in here a year ago. Okay, we came up.
Almost exactly a year.
Almost exactly a year. I
can't believe you want me back in. Do you think there was more to talk about?
Well, do you know what? When we were conversing via text and stuff, we were kind of saying that fact, weren't we? We were like, we don't want it to just be a repeat of what we did last time. And I'll be honest, I've got, the questions I've got from last time. I'm not really going to use any of them again because there's so many other things that I want to chat to you about, which I think is going to be interesting. Health being one of them, which I think is a great topic. We did some prostate cancer recently, and we're going to have a chat about that. But first of all, who is Pavel Douglas? Are you ready for this? This is the bit I read out last year. Okay. So, you've been an actor for over 40 years. Is that
50.
50 years now, isn't it? Blimey. From Goldeneye to Lovejoy and Holby City, also famous for ordering the hit on the EastEnders character Den Watts.
No one will remember that. It was so many years ago. That was,
I know.
what was that, 1984, I think.
I wrote that a year ago.
Okay.
And, so, you were here a year ago.
Yep.
First question I've got is, what have you been up to?
It seems a lot, but then when you look at it, it's not that much. It's funny. I did a commercial for Sky with Andrew Garfield, playing his dad, and which is quite amusing because I did actually say, Andrew, do I look anything like your dad? He said, no, you've got hair.
Oh, okay.
Which was very sweet of him. Then I did an episode of the Madame Blanc Mysteries.
Yeah, I was trying to find it this morning to have a little watch.
Channel 5. It came out on Christmas Eve.
Right. I did try and find it.
And it was great fun because I had a week in Malta, in Gozo, which is just a little island next to Malta. Okay. Supposed to be in the south of France, but it's cheaper to film in Gozo than it is in the south of France. And it was something like 34 degrees in the shade on supposedly on Christmas Day. So they had to take my shirt off and dry it with a hairdryer between every take because you could see the sweat patches, and it was supposed to be a cold Christmas day. Now,
is that why? Because I looked online at you, as I always do, and there's quite a lot of pictures of you with not many clothes on. Is that where that's come from? Yeah, I think I saw that.
No.
Well, yeah, there's that one there. So there's the one which I promoed.
Oh yeah. Well, that was because they took my shirt off, took it away to dry it. Yeah, but I had great fun with that because it was all in for me anyway. It was all in French,
right?
Because I played a French puppeteer.
Okay.
who I can tell you about it now because it's been aired.
Yeah.
But it was a French puppeteer who actually got murdered within the first 5 minutes of the episode. So it was a cameo performance.
Okay. A short one.
A short one, yeah.
Okay. And did you have to play dead?
Yes.
Okay, so I've often looked at this, and in fact, I was watching Silent Witness last night.
I got killed in that as well.
Did you get killed in that as well?
I got murdered by my daughter.
Okay, this seems to be
not my real daughter. I hasten to add.
A solid thing here that you appear in something and get killed. Is this a thing?
It seems to be, if I look back at my career, I either kill or am killed.
Right.
I've had my head chopped off. I've had my arms chopped off, in various things over the years, and I've done my fair share of hits on people as well,
including Dirty Dan, of course.
Including Dirty Dan. Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone says, "Oh, you killed Dirty Dan." I always point out that I had him killed.
Yes.
Because had I killed him myself, he would have stayed dead.
Right.
All right. Rather than 14 years later walking back into Albert Square as if nothing had happened. Hello, Treacle.
Okay. So you've been killed.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I was watching Silent Witness, and there was a character that had been killed, and they have to lay there, obviously very still, but not breathing. But there seemed like quite a long period where. How are they not breathing? How do you look dead? Is my question to you as an actor.
You stop breathing.
Right.
Yeah. No. My body was discovered on the embankment of the South Circular, actually, and it was filmed in January. And I was in a summer suit, freezing cold, soaking wet, lying there. Very hard not to shiver, let alone breathe.
Yeah.
But this is a funny story. When they actually got me into this on the slab, because in Silent Witness, there's always that bit with
and then you get cut open.
So I had to have my a head cast made. This is a really weird thing to do because you sit there and they completely cover you in foam, and you got straws up your nose that you can breathe through.
Right.
And they wait for the foam to set, and then they cut it open, and they can make a mold of your head.
Okay.
So it was my head on David Hemmings' body.
Okay.
Because they had a body cast made of David Hemmings, the actor-director who's no longer with us. So they said, we don't need to make a body cast of you. We'll use David Hemmings' body. So you in certain scenes, it's not real at all. There's an entire fake corpse. So that you don't have to worry about breathing.
Isn't real at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to watch back the last episode I've just watched. Yeah. And see if there was
Sometimes it all depends on the producer involved at the time and the director involved at the time, whether they want the real actor or if they want
here's a proper geeky question for you. Okay, the geeky question I've got is: if you are playing dead, so you don't have to breathe, do you breathe out and get rid of all the air in your lungs, or are you literally holding your breath
out?
So you breathe out, so it's all gone.
Yeah. Not all. Don't get rid of it all, because there's a temptation to gag and bring it back in. So you breathe out to a comfortable point and then stop.
Yeah. Okay. And then that's it. Now, for the benefit of the tape.
I'm doing it now. Yeah.
For the benefit of the tape, literally, Power's just sat there, not moving anything, and I'm like, "Is he all right?" And then I realised he was playing dead.
Okay.
Now, yesterday you were coming back from the train from London, and you were having a fitting. What was that all about then? What can you tell us?
I can't tell you very much at all, other than it's now the 200th anniversary of Jane Austen.
Okay.
So we're going to have a plethora of things about Jane Austen. And this, I can tell you, because this is in the public domain, this bit of information. It is a reworking, if you like, of Northanger Abbey. But not Northanger Abbey, not an actual reworking. It's using the story of Northanger Abbey within another story. It's called Northanger Abbey. It's a feature film. I don't know when it'll be aired out. It'll be out next year, I imagine. It takes about that length of time after filming to do all the post-production and the rest of it. So yesterday I was being fitted out for a very beautiful Regency garb.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And can you say whether you're going to be dead in the first 5 minutes?
No, I'm not. I don't get killed, or I don't do any killing in this one.
Okay.
No, it is another cameo, I have to say. And that'll be filming all around the Bath, Bristol area.
Right. Lovely. Now, one of the things which I've always been fascinated with actors is rejection. Now, you've been around for 50 years. Yeah. You must have had rejection on the odd occasion, shall we say. How many castings do you reckon you do a year?
I know exactly how many I did. It's roughly The year before last, I think it was about 45. Last year, it was about 60.
Right.
Out of which you might get 4.
Right. So
it's not just television and it's commercials as well. You know, but you have to get used to rejection. It's extraordinary. Most people think, I'll go out for a job maybe once or twice in my life, and if and I sit there and I wait and I get the rejection letter. In our business, you're 2 or 3 times a week, and how it's changed particularly since COVID, is that we now are asked to do what's called self-taping.
Okay,
whereby you're sent not even the whole script, so you have no idea really the style or how you should pitch it. You're sent what's called the sides, which is essentially a couple of pages of a scene, and you have to learn it, and then you film it yourself.
Right.
The wonders of technology, you can do it all on your phone.
Yeah.
And then you edit it on your phone, and then you send it to the casting agent.
Right.
Director, I beg your pardon, casting director. And sometimes you hear back, and sometimes you don't even hear back at all.
Nothing.
So you're sitting, waiting, and twiddling your fingers, thinking, well, have I got this job? I haven't got this job. So I've learned now just to send it into the void and forget about it.
Okay.
You have to just put it, otherwise you drive yourself mad.
It's a numbers game, I'm guessing now, isn't it?
Yeah, you throw enough mud at the wall until it sticks, until you become a real name, and then they offer you. You're actually, you get we are doing such and such, we would like you to play such and such. That day only happened once to me.
And what was that day?
Oh, good Lord, it was Heartbeat.
Okay.
Years and years ago. I'd worked with the director, and it was a lovely part of a schmoozy con man. And it was an offer rather than I didn't have to even audition. That was lovely. So I treasured that moment because it's not happened since.
They don't come around that often, do they? They really don't. We're going to find out lots more about Pavel over the next couple of hours. If you do have any questions for him, it's text bars followed by a message to 80011 or studio@radiobath.com is the email. You've chosen the next track as well. It's Lazy.
Yeah.
Why this? It's
just because it's got a groove.
It's just got a groove. Love it. Here is Lazy for Pavel, here till midday today. Back for part 2 then with the lovely Pavel Douglas, or as I said last year, the amazing Pavel Douglas.
Oh, you're too kind.
I kept introing you with amazing Pavel Douglas.
I don't know why.
Well, you're lovely. That's why. Now, we're just talking off air very quickly about another thing that you've done recently, which is Here We Go.
Here We Go, yeah.
Yeah, what's that all about then?
It's a BBC comedy series. I think we're into series 4 now.
Okay.
It's about a dysfunctional family. It's all filmed from the point of view of the teenage son and his camcorder. Ostensibly, that's how it's meant to look.
Okay.
And he can't believe how daft his family is, so he films everything they do. With it's Catherine Parkinson, who is wonderful in The Rivals. I don't know if anyone's watching that. Have you seen Rivals? The Jilly Cooper thing? It's superb. Okay. Very, very funny. David Tennant's in that as well. So Catherine Parkinson, Jim Harker, who was famous for Ghosts and Horrible Histories, and of course the legend that is Alison Steadman.
Okay.
So, and I had a wonderful time on that. It's a really lovely part.
And did you die in this one? Or?
No, no one dies.
No one dies. A running theme of this show seems to be, did Pavel die in this particular episode? But hopefully...
I've died on stage many a times, particularly on stand-up. But
we'll talk about that a bit later. Okay. I absolutely want to go deep diving into the comedy a little bit later. Now... Very recently, in fact, last weekend, I had the pleasure of being at the Bath Guildhall, which is a fabulous venue, and doing a charity auction. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this to you, and you said you've done charity auctioneering as well a few years ago.
Yeah.
How did you find that experience?
Do you know, it's just one of those things. You just sort of do it.
Just very quickly, we need to explain what a charity auction is.
Right.
So a charity auction is where you have a number of lots, normally between 6 and 8 lots, and you try and sell them for charity to a group of people.
To a group of people who are there eating and drinking and being merry, and suddenly you play on their guilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And their pockets,
and
hopefully.
Their pockets, yeah.
But how did you get on? How was it for you?
Well, we did it was some time ago now. It was for UNICEF, for the children of Ukraine, really. And we did a charity auction at the Assembly Rooms. Mm-hmm. Packed out, I have to say.
That's because you were there, of course.
Yeah, no, I think the draw was James Acaster, who was extremely funny. Although he did come, he did come on after my link. I did a link, basically tugging at the heartstrings, and he came on and said, "Well, how am I supposed to be funny after that guy who just made everyone cry?" But it seemed to work because we raised £5,000 that evening.
Amazing,
which is pretty good going.
Yeah,
some lovely prizes on offer, and I think that they probably could have got more for some of them, but people are quite tight, keeping their hands in their pockets.
It's very difficult. I had the scenario at one point. I looked around the room and there was a prize that was worth thousands of pounds and we were stuck at £400. And I was like,
that's painful, isn't it?
How do I get past this? I did manage. Thankfully, somebody else all of a sudden put their hand up and were like, well, I can do more than that. And I think it went for £1,400 in the end, which was absolutely fine. But if you'd have had that scenario, how would you have dealt with that?
You just have to roll with it, don't you? I mean, you can't force people to spend more money than they're prepared to.
No.
And the whole business of charity, I find, is extraordinary, really, that there are so many things that are bailed out by charity that really should be funded directly by government, caring for the aged should not be done by charity. It should be an automatic part of society's function.
Yeah.
I do bits and pieces for Dorothy House, because it's a wonderful local charity. Bath Arts Workshop originally was a charity, and yet we fostered so many things in Bath. So, in terms of trying to get people to fork out money, you're constantly under pressure. It's particularly after Christmas. You must have noticed the TV commercials that come on and everything for £3 a month. Okay, that's one. There'll be another one just for £2 a month. If you added them all up, you'd be spending everything that you made, just to help out charities. And as much as that's great if you've got the money, most people don't.
No, you have to. Charity always starts at home, doesn't it? And I always use the analogy of the aircraft and the oxygen that comes down. Is that before you look after your child, you have to put your own mask on.
Yeah.
And before you try and look after anybody else, and it's that same scenario. If you're not in the place where you can look after yourself, then how can you possibly try and look after other charities?
You then become a victim that requires charity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, you mentioned about the Bath Arts Workshop. Then tell us about that. Bath
Arts Workshop began in I think 1972 or maybe even 1970. It's the germination of it. A group of people arrived in Bath, having experience of the Arts Lab in London and the rest of it, and set up Bath Arts Workshop, which then became Natural Theatre Company.
Okay.
And that we had a launch of a wonderful book called Bath Arts Workshop Counterculture in the 70s, which is now available as a free PDF to download online. If anyone is interested about the underbelly culture of Bath and how it's arrived to where we are today, and many of the stiffies that hated us in the early 70s are sadly gone now. So, but we're still going strong. And when we had another launch recently, just before Christmas, to promote the fact that the book is now a downloadable PDF, and I looked out. We did it in the shop at 146 Walcott Street, where it all began.
Right.
And they very kindly let us use the shop again for the launch. And dear Ralph Oswick, who was there, Lady Margaret, as you know, who was there, but not as Lady Margaret, as himself, to do a raffle. We always have to have a raffle.
Of course.
And I looked out at the crowd there, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I've just realised, looking at you all, that the cumulative age of everybody here is 1,750. Because we're all getting on a bit now.
It happens though, doesn't it? Every day.
It does. It
every
day
up on
you, yeah.
We get older. Now, something else you've recently done is you've been on a podcast, Imaginary World.
Imaginary World podcasts. I got the chance to play James Bond.
Okay.
It was very interesting. There were 3 James Bonds in the podcast. It's called if you can download it to listen to on just about any platform that does podcasts. It's called Imaginary Worlds. Just type in Imaginary Worlds podcast. It's episode 267, I think. It's all about James Bond. The idea being that James Bond is just a cipher, and there have been many, many Bonds in between the Bonds that we know. You know, the Pierce Brosnans, the Sean Connerys, that in between those there were other Bonds that just got on with the job that just didn't become famous, but. Were
they the less good-looking ones by any chance?
Oh no, much better looking.
Obviously, you were.
But I did have that wonderful moment of saying, "The name's Bond, James Bond," which I've always wanted to do. I mean, we all do it. We do it in the pub, but I actually got paid to say it, which is great. And I didn't know because there were 3 Bonds. There was a young Bond, a sort of middle-aged Bond, and an old Bond. I was the old Bond.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, how shall I play it? And I thought, I'm going to go slightly down the Roger Moore line. So that's how I had Roger Moore in my mind.
What can you do? Because he can do the eyebrows, can't he?
Yeah.
Roger Moore. Are you able to do your eyebrows?
There's funnily enough, there is a line in it that I have to say, which is that the eyebrows are a very underrated erogenous zone.
I'm sure they are. Yeah. It's not one that I've ever thought about personally.
No.
Maybe I should think about that more, the eyebrows. Moving swiftly on that, I think. You also were in Robin of Sherwood.
Yeah, many years ago, the HTV series. I worked with both Michael Praed and Jason Connery on that, various episodes of that. It's now still having an afterlife, but on the radio. And I've just done 2 episodes, basically revisiting the character that I played, which was Gisborne's right-hand man, or captain of the Sheriff's Guard.
Okay.
In the premise being that it's time has moved on and he's older and he's got a son now. He's also works for the sheriff. So 2 episodes of that. Great fun to do.
Very fortunate. We're going to talk loads and loads more with Pavel as time goes on. If you do have any questions, it's email studio@radiobath.com. But we're going to very quickly ask you, Desert Island Disc Styley.
Okay.
You've chosen the music today. So this next track is Joni Mitchell. Why have you chosen this one?
I've chosen this one because many years ago in the 80s, I lived in Swainswick. And my address was Oakham House. And Peter Gabriel lived further up in Swainswick in an address called Ashcombe House. That is where he had his studio then, before Real World. And we were constantly getting each other's mail, as you can imagine, Ashcombe, Oakham. So he'd either come along to my house and drop off the mail, and we knew each other because our children were, our daughters, my first daughters, were at school together at Swainswick Primary. So we knew each other. In fact, he beat me at egg and spoon race once. I'll never forget that.
Is this in the school sports day?
In the school sports day.
Parents?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did you ever race? My wife dreads the thought of me racing in the parents' race just for injury. But did you ever race against him apart from the egg and spoon race? No, just the egg and spoon.
Just the egg and spoon race,
right.
Yeah. But anyway, so one evening I turned up with all his posts at Ashcombe House. And Dave Staurbummer, who was his PA at the time, opened the door and said, "Oh, hello, Pavel. Joni Mitchell's here recording, and she's just having a break. We've just ordered some pizzas and some wine in. Would you like to come and join us?" And I went, "Well, yes, of course." Absolute heroine. So I went in and had a wonderful evening chatting with Joni over pizzas and red wine. And then she said, "Look, I've got to go back to work. I've got to go back to work now." So she went back to work. And then 5 minutes later came back. She said, "Actually, no, we were having much too much fun. Let's have another glass and have another slice of pizza." And she was cutting this album, which is the album is Chalkmark in a Rainstorm. And I love this track.
And what's the track you've chosen? It's My Secret Place, isn't it?
My Secret Place.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Here with Pavel Douglas, it's Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today. We've spoken about different roles that you've had. We're going to speak more about you now, Pavel. Now, you are, we've advertised this earlier, the age of 74, born in 1951.
51. The
same age as Bob. Good old. Rob, Bruce. Who am I thinking about?
How many Bobs do we know?
How many Bobs do we know? He was on Radio 2, now on...
Ken Bruce.
Ken Bruce.
Ken Bruce. Oh, yeah.
I like to call him Bob, though.
Bob Bruce to his friend. Yeah.
Bob Bruce's brother, Ken. And he's equally the same age as yourself.
Age, yeah.
But you are 74. Lots of people, by the time they get into their mid-60s, are thinking about retirement and going on the golf course. But you're still going strong. 60 auditions last year. So why at the age of 74 are you still doing what you do?
Got to pay the bills.
Right. Okay.
Bottom line.
Just
bottom line. And also, actors don't tend to retire, you know. I don't play golf. But perhaps if I played golf, I'd be retiring and be out on the golf course. But no, actors don't retire. I mean, I plan to carry on until maybe the last part I get might be a corpse.
Which we've spoken about many times today. You play it very well.
But then my kids can get the fee for that. But
yeah.
No, it's more. It's interesting. You. It's like a wine. You kind of get better, the more experiences you have. I think the more things you can portray in a moment. It's a wonderful job that allows you to carry on working.
I always say whenever I'm on stage, it's always a privilege to be on stage, for people to be paying their money to watch you do your craft.
Completely. And
I suppose, people have said to me, when am I stopping? I've definitely ramped back, he says, teaching a lot this week, but, aim is to ramp back. I turned 50 last year, and, as a dancer, it's difficult to kind of keep going to that degree, because definitely my body is
But surely the dancing is keeping you fit, though.
Yes and no, but I've had 4 proper big injuries in the last year alone.
Oh, wow.
Whereas I'd had 4 in the previous 10 years.
Okay. Is this all on the dance floor?
Some of it's football, because I like to play football. But yeah, a lot of it's from dancing, and it's just that overwearing of the same muscles over and over again. So that can be quite difficult. So how do you keep yourself fit, because you're looking in great shape? We mentioned last time about the fact that you always look great as well.
You have to look after yourself in my business. You can't let yourself go. And if you do let yourself go, then be prepared to play parts of people who let themselves go. But no, you have to stay on top of it. I've been plagued with a bit of ill health the last couple of years, I have to say. I was diagnosed with a thing called polymyalgia, which they don't know what it is, but what it means is it's from the Greek meaning many pains.
Okay.
So you have pains in various parts of your bodies, which are very debilitating. You're walking along the street and you suddenly can't walk any further because it hurts so much. Okay. I've got over that. I'm getting better. I've been on steroids for the last 2 years, and the idea is that you taper the steroids. I mean, I was on 20 milligrams a day. I'm now on 3.5. So, half a milligram a month you reduce the dosage by. And the other thing I stopped doing, I stopped going to the pub.
Okay.
I stopped drinking. Thank goodness there is. I still go to the pub, of course, but there is now 0.0 beer, and some of it is really very good and very hard to tell the difference. Obviously, you don't get drunk, but you can still enjoy a pint with mates. So I was cutting out the alcohol and going to the gym. I joined a gym.
Tell us about your gym, Pavel.
I joined a gym. I saw an advert came up, I think it was on Instagram, for a local gym here in Bath called Stanza Fitness in Trim Street, appropriate address. And it was all about losing weight. And I thought, well, I actually don't need to lose weight, but I do need to get fit. And there's I think people are intimidated by gyms, You think that you're going to be there and you're going to be surrounded by body beautifuls, people getting buffed up. Stanza is not like that. Stanza is ordinary people. You and I go there, with our middle-aged paunch or whatever we've got, and they really look after us. The trainers there are wonderful, really, really talented people. The whole premise behind it is small group personal training.
Okay.
So you only have 4 people in your group maximum. Sometimes you turn up and there's only I've turned up, there's only been me. And so I've had a one-to-one with my trainer, which has been wonderful. And they really tailor the exercises to one's body. Don't push you. You don't have to go. You don't have to keep on, increasing your weights. You just or your reps. You do what you can. They encourage you. The team there just are wonderfully encouraging, and also very particular about just getting your posture right for the exercises, so that you're not hurting yourself, and that enables you to go further. And my body has changed. I'm actually. Well, I'm in the donuts now. No. But I feel wonderful, I have to say.
Yeah.
And it's a regular thing, and I'm driven to go there. I look forward to going there, even though I sometimes crawl in there because I'm hurting.
Yeah.
I'll walk out tall, which is wonderful.
No, that is. Again, I look at the dance world, and people come along sometimes not in the greatest mood, but leave feeling amazing. And I'm guessing you kind of get that same feeling when you go to the gym sometimes.
Do you find the same thing, that people don't come to the dancing because they feel inhibited? They think they don't want to make a fool of themselves in front of everybody else by getting it wrong or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I think there are many, many people out there who don't go to gyms for that very reason. They think, I can't possibly go there because, I can't compete with it. It's not about competing with anybody. The only thing you're competing with is yourself and making yourself better.
Yeah.
And if you look around, no one's looking at you thinking, he's not very good, or he's better than me, or what. It's not like that. It really isn't like that.
No.
And how important it is to stay on top of your fitness. I mean, we're going to talk about cancer, I think, as well, aren't we? Is this the time to do it?
Yeah, go for it. Okay. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm also, I'm glad to say, a cancer survivor. I had a melanoma about 12 years ago, which was excised, and then 2 years later it had metastasized into my lymph glands in my armpit, and so I had to have a much bigger operation to have all my lymph glands removed. And out of 30 lymph glands, 5 had tumors.
Right.
But if I hadn't done it, if I hadn't listened to my body in the first place, the melanoma was a tiny little mole. Nothing to worry about at all. But I looked at it in the mirror, and it used to shout at me. It used to go, "Oi, mate, something wrong down here?" I'd go, no. Mate, sort me out. No. And this went on until one day I thought, something? My body's trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
So I went to dermatology at the RUH, and they did a biopsy and said, yep, it's cancerous. Listen to your body. Wherever it is, I mean, don't be mad about it. Don't think every itch or twitch that you've got is the end of you. But do listen to your body. People, I mean, you talk about prostate. I know a great deal. A friend of mine, Colin McFarlane, wonderful actor, that I worked with on a film called Crown for Christmas. He's now the face of prostate cancer, if you will, and he's battling for people to get tested.
Yeah.
Just get tested, If you're suspicious about anything, have it looked at.
Just
talk to your doctor.
Never be embarrassed about it.
Never be embarrassed, because if I hadn't reacted, I wouldn't be here talking to you today.
No, absolutely.
I wouldn't have seen my children growing up, my twins growing up, or my older children growing up. I wouldn't have seen my grandchildren. There we are.
That's why you get tested. Now, you've chosen the last track of this hour, History Repeating.
History Repeating.
This one then?
Yeah, Propeller Heads. Alex Gifford, again, who lives in Bath, a wonderfully talented musician with Propeller Heads, and he did this with Shirley Bassey. I did a daft thing with Natural Theatre Company on a private party on the train from Paris to the Eurostar. It was a private party, and Shirley Bassey was as one of the guests, and I was dressed as a French gendarme, going up and down the train, going, "Monsieur, dame, have your passport, please," all this. And everyone was getting quite merry. And then suddenly Shirley Bassey grabbed me and she said, "Oh, I know, the gendarme. Let's make the gendarme have a forfeit. What shall we make him do?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, here we go. What's going to happen now?" She said, "Let's make him sing a song. And I thought, oh, God, what song does she want me to sing? She said, "Strangers in the Night." That's very appropriate. And I thought, of all the songs, this is the one I used to do in cabaret. So I knew it. So there I was, down on one knee I had a jambon baguette in my pocket, which I pulled out as a microphone. And I'm singing Strangers in the Night to Shirley Bassey. In the back of my mind, somebody's shouting, "You're singing to Shirley Bassey." And she was wonderful. She stood up on the seat, was wolf whistling, and we had a great time. And then, of course, Alex got to do this song with Shirley Bassey. So I brought two little stories together here.
Brilliant. Here is history repeating. Is it one of those moments where you kind of go, how did I get here?
It is. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's like when I did that film years ago called The Bruce with Oliver Reed.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out more after the news.
What is about? There's something evolving. Whatever may come, the world keeps revolving. They say the next big thing is here, that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
I've always wondered what the total age of the Rolling Stones are now.
1,750.
1,750. For those that weren't listening earlier, my guest this morning on A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin, is Pavel Douglas. He's an actor and voiceover artist. We haven't even touched on Noddy at all yet.
Are you touched on Noddy?
No, we haven't touched on... We haven't... That sounds really wrong, doesn't it? We haven't even touched... You haven't done your Big Ears impression yet. Go for it, just for once.
Oh, you funny little boy, Noddy.
There you go. He was the voice of Big Ears. Voiceover artist, loads of other stuff, charity auctioneer. We're going to talk in a minute about you being a comedian as well. But first of all, again, another choice of yours, the Rolling Stones. Why do we listen to that one?
Because I absolutely adore the Rolling Stones. I think it's the sound of the 60s. For those of us who remember the 60s, I know you're not supposed to, but that sound, you know, that guitar sound and Jagger's vocals always take me back to the 60s, particularly 1969, I think, which was a seminal year for music for me. And also, it's a wonderful piece of philosophy that you can't always get what you want, but if you try some time, you might find you get what you need. My children know that it's the song I want played at my funeral.
Okay.
Definitely.
Have you got somebody there's a link here, by the way. Have you got somebody that's going to run your funeral yet? Have you thought about that?
What, celebrant, MC it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably sort of sit up and do it myself.
You'll sit up and do it yourself. That's right. I interviewed a lady called Sarah recently, who's a celebrant, and she was on air with me, and she was fantastic. She's really loved her to bits. And while she was on air, both myself and Charlotte, who's the presenter after me, both said to her, "We'd love you to do our funeral." Because she's not a religious person, and neither am I. And I was like, yeah, she's a fantastic celebrant.
I'm working towards that myself.
What, being a celebrant?
Yeah, I actually married my son last summer.
Okay.
Which was a wonderful. Well, I didn't marry him. I married him to his fiancée.
I did. I made that click, that join there.
Yeah,
by the way.
And I was massively honoured to do it. It was a great thing to do.
Yeah.
You have to have a registrar. This was up in Scotland. You have to have a registrar present to do all the signing and stuff. But as far as the service is concerned, we did binding of hands and with a Douglas tartan shawl and all that sort of stuff, and it was just great.
And you have done thousands of jobs over the last 50 years. I'm going to make a wild guess. You felt more pressure for that gig than any other.
Damn right.
Because that one matters. You don't get a second take.
No.
So yeah, how did it go?
It went swimmingly well. Fabulous. We all went up to Scotland. It was on the banks of Loch Alsh, and the day before was a bit drizzly and midges, and the day after was drizzly and midges. But on the day, the sky was blue. The little fluffy clouds, there they were. We had a wonderful rolling lawn down to the edge of the loch, with the background of the blue hills of Skye behind, and it was very, very moving day.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I need to get up to Scotland. I know a few Scottish people, and they all say, I've been to the Lake District, and say it's like the Lake District but just bigger. Yeah,
and some of the best beaches in Europe are to be found up in the Hebrides.
Unfortunately, not the temperatures to go with it. Normally, that's the only downside.
The white sand,
of that.
It's gorgeous,
fabulous. Now, you were recently at the Bath Comedy Festival.
Yeah, well, I've been doing the Bath Comedy Festival pretty much every year in one way or another. We do the Wine Arts Trail, which I know Lorraine Morgan Brinkhurst does very well, because she's very much part of it. And I've been doing characters for that. In fact, one year I was here playing a disc jockey in this very studio. And the idea, if you know about it, is that people get onto a red London old double-decker bus, and they do a stopping tour and having a glass of wine at every stop. And one year it was here.
Okay.
And I played a character I do called Simon Minty Murray, mate.
Oh, is this proper DJ time?
Proper DJ styling.
Okay. Smashy and nicey.
Smashy and nicey styling, mate.
Did you do some work for charity?
Absolutely, for charity, mate. That's what it's all about. And I've been involved with Comedy Festival pretty much since its inception, in one way or another.
Right.
But last year, a bit more fun. On two things. One, I had to interview. Let's come back to that. But Nick asked me to MC some of the heats for the new comedians competition, new comedy competition. And I asked him if there was any money in it. He said no. So I said, in that case, give me a 5-minute slot. So I wrote some material and polish that up. So every time you do it. There's an interesting thing about stand-up, as I think you'll discover, because you're doing it now, aren't you, is that you can't rehearse. Okay. You can't rehearse on your own. You have to. The rehearsals are the performances.
Yeah.
Because it's the feedback that you get from the audience that will tell you whether it's working or not.
And it's that instant feedback as well, isn't it?
Instant feedback. And so you can tweak what your material. You know, you tweak your material and you go, actually, that joke didn't work, so I'm going to drop it. That joke worked, but it'd be better 2 jokes later. This is if you're telling jokes. I don't tend to tell jokes, but you make up stories, that entertaining stories, until eventually, after about 10 performances, you're on it. You've got it. And it's working every time. So that's really really great.
No, I mean, I was listening to a Radio 4 programme recently, and again, we were interviewing a comedian, and he was saying that if the audience clap first, then it's not good enough. If they laugh first, then that's okay. But if they clapping is appreciation.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean it's funny. But if they laugh and then clap, that's okay. They've got the joke, and then they're like, actually, I really appreciate that moment of doing that. So is it a type 5 that you've got there? And what type of, you say you don't tell jokes, you're not a Jimmy Carr, here's a joke, here's a joke, here's a joke. No. Is it much more of a story type telling?
It's a story. I mean, it's a storytelling thing. It's just the observations of when you're getting older and stuff like that, the stuff that you see that it's amusing or annoys you, you can talk about it.
What type of stuff?
In a comedic. Oh gosh! Now, if you'd asked me, I'd have gone back over my material. I didn't prepare this, but I mean, the opening line is, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you all, I recently became single. No, it's not a cry for help. It's more of an advert.
See, I've laughed. I haven't clapped first.
Oh, good.
So
good.
That's passed the laugh test. That's very good. Yeah, and obviously it's all about delivery and timing, which obviously being an actor is something which you are well versed in.
Timing is everything. It is. Timing is everything.
And so you've MC'd for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, are you the type of MC that likes to interact with the crowd? Or what's your type of MCing?
Yeah, you can't predict with MCing. You've got to just get up there and be flexible. People don't tend to heckle the compere in the same way that they heckle the acts. But I've been putting bands on and off stage for years. I've probably done more MC work in my life than acting.
Okay.
I started, I think, when I was 17 in Edinburgh, and I put the Bay City Rollers on stage for one of the earliest gigs ever.
Wow.
I've done even compared to Glastonbury.
Okay.
Some years ago now. It's gone huge now. Of course, there are so many stages, but. Compared a lot here in Bath, did the Youth Olympics. That was a fun one. Princess Anne being 20 minutes late, having to tap dance furiously for 20 minutes.
So you can tap dance as well?
No, I mean, you know what I mean by tap.
Oh, okay.
Not actually physically tap, filling.
Yes.
Filling for 20 minutes.
That's okay. I was going to get you to tap dance on the floor then. You never know where I'm going with this. But no, you were filling. Yeah, filling is fun.
It's fun, but there's a certain part of your anatomy that's puckering,
squeaking. Yes, yeah, very much so. trying to get out of this without it sounding completely horrific. Yeah, I mean, I had the scenario when I did this auctioneering recently.
Yeah.
I got up and I'd prepped myself for not being too nervous, and we can talk about that shortly. But I got up there and there was somebody else on microphone, and immediately I kind of started going, it feels like we're going to do a duet here, because we're standing at the front and he was in his tux and I was in my tux, and it felt like we were just going to do an old timers duet. But I then got called over. My wife was in the room as well, because we part of the whole thing, and she called me over. I was like, oh, what's this? I'm like meant to be starting the auction, and she called me over, and the lady I've been sat next to,
your flies are undone.
Not quite, no. The lady that I was sat next to for the whole dinner was a mature lady, should we say. She was absolutely lovely, name of Sally, and they'd known that we were dancers as well, and she said, I'm going to open up the auction with a £50 bet to spend the night with you. And I was like, well, this sounds quite unusual. Right. And then she was talking about the fact that actually she just wanted to dance with me. And that was quite a relief, I have to say, with my wife stood next to me. But I managed to get £100 out of her for the auction. Good. So it was.
And did you then dance the night away?
After we did a little demo dance as well afterwards, and then after that I got up and danced with Sally for a couple of tracks. Yeah,
great.
And it was lovely. She was a beautiful person. Did have a very strange scenario though, and again I'm going to talk about Sally very quickly. I don't know if you've ever had this, but I sat down next to dinner to her, and she turned round, and she was closer to me than you are, because we were sat next to each other, and she looked at my face and she went, "You have a very interesting face." I went, okay. Literally her opening words to me. And I was like, I don't know if this is good or bad.
Where's this going?
Yeah. She said, I'm an artist. And I'm looking at your face and the position of your cheekbones and the chiseled looks, which I'm taking away with me forever. So have you had those scenarios where somebody walks up to you and just stares at you?
No.
Thank mercy for that. But have you had those places where you've kind of gone in and gone, I am me, and they look at you and they go, are you right for this? Where's the scenario? Where are you at on this?
Oh, well, constantly in terms of casting, because, you can be as good as you like, but if your nose is too big or your eyes are the wrong colour or you're too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, all these come into play.
They're just staring at you going, are you quite right for this?
Yeah.
Now, we're going to have another track of yours. Peter Gabriel, we mentioned him earlier, having dinner with Peter.
Yeah, I think I mentioned a couple of things. Not having dinner with Peter, that was having dinner with
Joni, sorry.
Yeah. But, simply know Peter simply because our children being at school together. And that he is just a legend, and a legend in Bath.
He is, and this is one of my favourite tracks ever. It really is. So this is Don't Give Up with Kate Bush, of
Another
course.
piece of good philosophy.
Indeed so. Back with Pavel very shortly.
In this proud land we grew up strong. We were wanted all along. I was taught to fight, taught to win. I never thought I could fail. No fight left, or so it seems. I am a man whose dreams have all deserted. I've changed my face, I've changed my name.
Back now with the lovely Pavel Douglas. We're just looking at the photos which I put out of you. There's your official bio one.
Yeah.
And then this is you in France, I'm guessing. Which is,
and there's me as you there up there.
Yeah, I know. You look very similar to me. It's but just talking off air about Photoshop, about having kind of like your headshots and stuff. Yeah. When was yours done?
That was done. That one I think was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've now got a beautiful beard.
Well, I mean, I do have a set of other headshots with this beard.
Okay.
It's very interesting. You've got to change them according to your look on your Spotlight page and on IMDb as well. So I mean, every time I change my look, I change the headshot.
Okay.
Because otherwise, people book you for being bearded, and you turn up and you're clean shaven, or the other way around. But
yeah.
But yeah, the headshot is massively important. I would say this to all aspiring actors. It's the front door. It's your front door. People look at it and they go, that's what you're trying to embody who you are in that 1 millisecond of the shutter being clicked, and hopefully give them access to all the other bits behind you.
So I've heard people say recently that modern phones take great photographs.
Yeah.
Just stick yourself up against a blank wall and kind of have a photograph taken. Why not just do that?
Why? Yeah, you could do that, but you'll end up with a rubbish photograph. You can't replace the eye of the photographer. The eye of the photographer. I mean, when you go for a photo session, it's not just a couple of shots as well. You'll end up. In the old days, it used to be constrained by how many shots you could afford to pay for, because there'd be 36 shots on a roll. Yeah. And then they have to have them processed. So you'd get what were called contact sheets, and you look at an A4 sheet. And it would have all the tiny little photos on it, and you look at it with a magnifying glass and choose the one you thought you wanted and put a circle around it. Yeah. Of course, now it's all digital, and you can have endless shots because you're not constrained by how much film stock costs. But a good photographer will adjust the light, get that pinpoint of light in your eyes, and then you've got to think through the lens, a bit like your job. You've got to think through the microphone. You've got to talk. Terry Wogan used to always say, didn't he, that he was always talking to one listener. Yeah. He talked through the microphone to one listener. A good photographer will actually go through the lens and capture something of you that you can't possibly do yourself with a phone.
Yeah. I mean, when we're set up here, obviously most people don't have any idea what a radio station looks like. But I always try and make sure the microphone's slightly offset to me, so we actually have a clear view of each other rather than me being here, and then we can't have eye contact.
In my voiceover days, I was taught that you never talk directly at the microphone, you all talk past it. Okay. And you get a much nicer sound.
Oh, well, that's nice to know. So maybe I'm just by luck and judgment, I'm doing the right technique already. And there you're probably thinking, oh, look at that, he's doing the right technique. Yeah. But no, it's just purely luck.
You notice I'm doing the same thing.
I have noticed you're doing the same thing. Yeah, it's almost like a coincidence. It really is. Now, we mentioned earlier, I'm going to kind of try and tap into your experience now for a little bit of somebody for 50 years that's been in the business. And we mentioned earlier about dealing with rejection. How have you dealt with the rejection over the time? Because it must be quite difficult.
Really badly. It is grueling, because sometimes you get offered. No, you don't get offered, but you get offered the chance to pitch for a job that you read the script and you think, oh, I'd kill for this. I really, really want to do this. And so you do your best. You have to do your best each time. Otherwise you're short-changing yourself. So even if you're doing a self-tape, as we talked about earlier, you film yourself doing it. I tend to do several takes until I'm really happy with what I'm. You don't want to overwork it because then you lose the spontaneity. But dealing with rejection is just one of those things that you have to get your head around. Particularly in my business. The same thing with young bands sending out demos, and not hearing back. And they worked really, really, really hard to make a really good song. No one's interested.
But J.K. Rowling didn't get published for a long time. She got rejected by
the publishing world is even more cruel.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you hear stories of many very successful writers who constantly had their drafts sent back, saying, could do better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've mentioned this a couple of times. I'm in the process of writing my first book. Brilliant. And there'll be a second book as well, because I can't fit everything into my first book, which is always a nice place to be at.
Unlike me, who just put it all in. I had 100,000 words in my, and the publisher said to me, take it back and can you lose about 10,000 words? You go, right. Oh no, but you have to learn to murder your darlings, as it's called.
Well, I'm only aiming for 25,000 words. Okay. I'm purposely making it a short 100-page book. Is my principle behind it? That's the theory. But I'm going to go down the route of self-publishing. Okay. So I don't have to worry about somebody publishing it for me. As much as I'd love to get a publisher, but I just don't think, as a non-person as such, that you've got much chance of actually getting it published.
Don't know.
You never know. I might go down that route. Yeah. You never know. Going into kind of a different area though, regarding actually performing. Yeah. Again, using your experience, I know I say to people, this is how I would prepare for something, but how would you prepare for something? And I'm going to go for the most nervous thing that you've done, which is your son's wedding last year. Treating that as a gig. What did you do to prepare yourself so when you were actually there to perform, you were able to perform to the best of your ability?
Funnily enough, that wasn't the most nervous thing, because I had actually written it.
Okay.
So the prep was in the writing. And yes, there were many rewrites to get it right, to get the anecdotes in the right place, to get the whole business right. It was nerve-wracking doing it, simply because I didn't want to cock up. But, it went well. No, but in terms of preparation, preparation is everything. It really is. I remember a drama teacher teaching me when I was at drama school. He said, do more prep than you can possibly imagine. Work on the script, read it. Don't just learn it. Really get under the skin of it. Yeah. But at the point of delivery, forget it. Forget all the things that you've learned. And it will be inherently within you, and it will come out through your performance. You can't really over-prepare. Turning up underprepared is the really scary part.
Have you seen that many times, certainly in the acting world?
Well, people who are just busking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that come out?
I have no idea, because they keep, it's personal to them. But I mean, I would be, really filling my trousers, I think, if I were unprepared. And I mean, there's bad enough. The nerves are bad enough anyway. But I mean, actors have nightmares. That you haven't learned your lines, that you've got the wrong costume on, that you're 3 miles from the theatre that you're supposed to be performing at in 5 minutes, all that sort of stuff. We are racked with. Oh, it sounds awful. I'm again. Please don't get out that little violin. He's got out the violin again. It's just no, but for everything, you can't do enough homework. It's really important to do your work and get it right. And then of course to formulate the character. I'm having worked in costume for years before I became an actor. I was a dresser at Thames TV, and I worked on many great productions, and I learnt the whole background of costume and learnt to appreciate how much costume is important. I think it was Beryl Reid that said to me years ago when I was very young, she said, "Darling, always start with the shoes. If you get the shoes right, then your character feels right. It affects the way you walk, how you feel, whether they pinch, whether they're loose, whether they're shiny, whether they're dull, and the rest of your character can be built from there. Getting the right costume, feeling comfortable in that, feeling prepared, and don't be afraid to ask the director things as well, because you don't have all the answers. I remember on GoldenEye there was a thing in the script and I couldn't work it out in my speech that I had to do, and I went up to Martin Campbell, the director, and I said, "Martin, I'm not a bit concerned about this line," and he said, "Oh, you're absolutely right. No, let's change it." And then stopped everything and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to a very rare thing, a thinking actor." The opposite side of that was another film I did called The Bruce, which and about Robert the Bruce. And I went up to the producer and I said, "This isn't right. This never happened." And he went, "It's a goddamn film, Pavel." And I thought, okay,
yeah.
So,
So you've been on some fantastic series, some great films as well. One of our fellow presenters here, Johnny Gould. Okay, got a lot of time for Johnny. He's also a charity auctioneer, very good presenter on here. Used to present baseball on Channel 5. Okay. He was in, is it Queen of Sheba? Is that the right film? Once voted the worst film ever, and his claim to fame is that he got edited out of the worst film that's ever been made. Good. That's his level of acting skills.
I'd be happy to be edited out if the worst film ever made.
Yeah, he was meant to be playing dead, ironically, and he kept moving.
I actually have been edited out, not for performance reasons, but for time constraints, I think, of a film that I did. But I watched the film and I thought, I saw my shadow.
Right. So my question to you is, have you ever been involved in something and thought, this just isn't very good?
It's a good question, that. No, I don't think so.
Wow.
No.
So you've chosen very well.
No, I haven't chosen. You don't get to choose.
Well,
it's luck. Whether you get it or not, and whether it's any good or not.
Yeah. But, wow, that is impressive.
But no, I can't think of anything that I'm ashamed of. No.
You wouldn't look back and go, "Oh no, I've done that bit." But that's a brilliant thing.
No.
That's an amazing thing. And last question on this then is, what's the favourite thing you've done? If you could just choose one.
Oh, did I cover this last time we talked?
I'm not
sure.
I didn't get that far in the podcast.
I love doing costume drama.
No, you didn't.
Really love.
Go for it.
I really love doing costume drama, and that's why I'm really looking forward to this Northanger Abbey. Although it's not actually all a period. It goes. This is just a pretend moment within the film. But I do love costume drama. I love wearing that kind of gear. And I remember doing the Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And being knighted by Prince Caspian, who is dressed head to toe in gold armour. And I'm there on my knees being knighted by the big sword. And I just thought, this is just the most wonderful thing. How privileged I am to be doing this, Robin of Sherwood, another one, riding a huge horse through the woods with, felled trees and fires blazing and having to jump over a stream and then they go, all right, can we do that again? You go, yes, can we just do this over and over and over and over and over?
And off you go, riding that horse. Now, you've chosen the next track. I'm going to say it's called Long Blue Light, and you're going to tell me who it's by.
Lee Fullenbeck.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Why have you chosen this track?
Simply because I'm really happy that I have 2 young children as well as grown-up children. Well, they're grown up now too. They're both 21. Twins. She's a farmer, a shepherdess, and he's at Boss Bar doing music and business. And he is massively into his music, and he has an ear for new music, all the new bands that are coming out. And bless his heart, he's constantly sending me, Dad, listen to this, you'll love this. And this is one of those tracks.
Brilliant. Time for the last part now with the lovely Pavel Douglas. He's been here all morning. I'd love to hear that Scottish accent again.
He's a break, pal.
What you want to hear? You want me to come over there and bang you one? Is that it? Hey, don't look at me like that.
Do you know what? You even do all the actions and everything. Do you literally put yourself in that
This
mode?
is an interesting thing about particularly voiceovers will tell you this. When you're in the booth on your own, I often think that if anyone were looking from outside, they'd go send for the straitjacket, because you do have to physicalize it.
Okay.
You can't just sit there and have it coming out of your mouth. You actually have to,
Be that part.
Yeah.
So last time you were here, just over a year ago, if anybody wants to listen back on any of the podcasts and the previous one, if you type in Radio Bars to any podcast provider, then every interview I've done over the last few years is on there. But you did a Glaswegian accent and an Edinburgh accent.
Okay, Edinburgh's much softer.
I was going to say, would you do something different in your body with those two?
Oh yes, I think that you're slightly more effete. You're a wee bit lighter on your toes when you're doing Edinburgh. When you're doing Glasgow, it's a bit more heavier. You drop yourself down in your body. You know what I mean?
Can I say, literally, for Edinburgh, you were smiling away. Obviously, Edinburgh people must be happy. Glasgow people, not so much.
Not necessarily.
Couldn't possibly comment on that. Quick fire round now. You've been in before.
Right.
Okay, so you had questions before, which you don't know what those questions are. I have a second set of questions for quick fire people that have come in, or for people that have come in for a second time.
They're not prepared.
They're not prepared. You have no idea what any of these are. Now, some people will have listened to these, but these don't get read out that often, these ones, okay? So, the first one that you would have had last time is, what's your favourite ice cream? Okay, which is a really simple question, which of course you remember. I like to kind of change it up a little bit. So, what's your favourite flavour of crisps?
Plain.
Plain. You're a plain man. Okay. I know a lot of people that are plain people regarding crisps.
Well, the flavours are just sprayed on. They're not real flavours, are they?
No, I've got paprika in my bag. Flavoured crisps.
That's quite nice.
But yeah, I can appreciate a nice plain crisp. But plain crisps is for yourself. Right. Now this one comes back to I like to call them discussions with my wife, never arguments. Okay. No. But do you leave things at the bottom of stairs to take up with you later?
Do you know when I lived with my partner and our children? Yes.
Right.
Now I don't, because I'm renting a room in a friend's house.
Okay.
That would annoy her.
Yeah. It's that scenario. So we used to have it that, and again, it still happens, that things get left there and then I trip over them on the way down.
We bought, when we were doing this, we bought a particular basket that's shaped to sit on the stairs. So it's sort of L-shaped, upside down L.
Yeah.
And that just sits on the bottom of the stairs, and the idea was that you tell everybody to put their stuff in that, and that would be taken upstairs. So that's quite good.
My main issue is I don't agree with the system, okay, but I'm going to reveal something which, again, I'm hoping my wife doesn't listen back to this. In that, if I see stuff that my wife's put on the stairs, I will blatantly ignore them on purpose, because I don't agree with the system, you see.
Okay.
However, yesterday, as a surprise to my wife, I tidied up downstairs, which, you sometimes end up with piles of stuff. So I tidied up downstairs, and quite a lot I put stuff on the stairs ready to take up later. So I used the system, but it's only because I was the only one in the house.
Don't make a point of it.
That's my thing. It really
and on Valentine's Day, treat her by taking everything upstairs.
I will do. I've got my gift here from. I have bought her something for Valentine's Day, and then she's asked me what type of stuff it is, and I've said kind of the generic area, and she went, "Oh, so I might need to go and do something else now because I don't think what I've done is quite right."
Just love. That's all you give. Love, love, love.
Yeah.
I mean, we started with sowing the seeds of love, and we were going to come back. I know you're going to do a quick fire round, but
that's right.
I never would have thought in my life that having lived through tensions in the Middle East when I was younger, the Cold War, and everything, that we'd be back there again. And there is so much hate out there at the moment, and I find it very, very. I can feel it. You can feel it. It's palpable, and I think we all need to actually not embrace the hate, put the hate away, turn our backs on the hate, turn off social media, don't get drawn in to all the nastiness that's going on and the Trumpisms and all the rest of it. We need to be sowing the seeds of love. Interestingly, that song was I heard from Sean, I think, from that works here at the studio, that his brother said that originally that song was sowing the seeds of war, but they rewrote it and changed it.
Oh wow!
I might be wrong there, but I think I'm right.
It's done all right for them.
Yeah.
It has done all right.
Everybody, please sow the seeds of love. Be kind to each other.
And what I always say is every day is Valentine's Day.
It should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why should there just be one day where you tell your partner that you love them?
Yeah.
Tell them every day.
And also the scenario of, Valentine's isn't just for your partner, but friends.
Yeah.
Because other people, might be single.
What did I hear on the radio this morning? That a third of the population of Britain give Valentine's to their dog.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, not to their partner.
Okay, let's hope that's a platonic relationship. Moving swiftly on. What's your favourite season and why?
Favourite season used to be autumn, but now it's spring, simply because I think it's just promises the year ahead.
I agree with you. Literally, words out of my mouth as well. It's that promise of what's ahead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I absolutely
and when you can see the garden stirring and the buds coming, and you think, all that promise, all that's going to come.
No, it's absolutely amazing. Is pineapple on a pizza, mamma mia, or simply wrong?
Absolutely simply wrong. It's simply wrong for me because I can't bear pineapple. I have an allergic reaction to pineapple. I think it's the enzyme in it, and I put pineapple in my mouth and I react very badly.
Okay, so definitely no pineapple for you.
No. Pineapple on a pizza? Nah.
I love it. Pineapple on a pizza with some Stilton as well. Although I was abroad recently and they had broccoli on a pizza. That felt wrong.
That's felt wrong too.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy that.
Blue cheese though on a pizza is good. Yeah.
Blue cheese on pizza.
Although I always think that generally pizzas are an overrated. I'm going to get shot for this, but pizzas are overrated food. Really,
it's just a cheese sandwich.
There's so much wonderful Italian food that I can't understand why pizza has become so. Other than the fact that it's easy to mass produce, I guess.
Yeah. And it fills a hole.
It does.
It does fill a hole. Right. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Oh, wow. Oh, where would I go?
Yeah.
Right now, Japan.
Why Japan?
Because I've never been there. And it's a fascinating culture and so different from anywhere else on Earth.
So would you do both parts, as in the city part of Tokyo,
yes,
which is
definitely.
kind of, and then also the countryside part?
Definitely.
So, and if you could only choose one of those, which one would you choose?
For Japan, I'd probably choose the city because I think it's extra. I mean, when you have kinetic pavements where people are walking and they're creating electricity, what a brilliant concept. I mean, I think that Japanese technology is astonishing.
Yeah.
The bullet trains, they actually work and get people there very quickly on time.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. It's a culture that's quite different to any other culture on Earth. And children are safe in Japan. They go to school on their own. Little tiny kids go to school. They wear yellow hats so that traffic can see them, but their parents don't go with them because everyone's looking after everyone else. It's a different kind of culture. Yeah,
my wife spent a year out there. She studied Japanese.
Okay, brilliant.
And the downside to that is because she spent a year out there, she's obviously not that keen to go back because she's done it. Okay. There's many other places in the world, but I'm there going, I'd really like to go. But I wonder if there
are so many places to go. I mean, we could, you could spend every day traveling and not really cover the planet. This is an extraordinary thing. Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine who's an air stewardess for 30 years went everywhere in the world, but she knows nothing about the country that she lives in. She's never been to Northumbria. She's never been to Scotland. So
No, I need to get to Scotland myself. Right, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
To make all weapons dissolve.
Okay. Nice superpower. Back to the war issue, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it is a fascinating thing that as human beings we try and kill each other.
Yes. For not the same reason that animals do. I mean, animals, it's to do with procreation.
Yeah.
But for us, it's to do with avarice and dominance and power and yuck.
And made up lines on a map.
Yeah, that as well.
Because nobody owns those lines.
No.
It's just made up. Right, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm a night owl.
Okay.
I think it kind of goes with working in the theatre. You finish late, then you go and eat, and then by the time it's. But I read some of the other day the difference between working people and artists. That there's the working people actually get up in the morning and go off and do it.
Right.
And artists don't.
And artists just.
But then we do work late at night.
I was going to say my current diary with trying to kind of do the authoring and variety of other bits and pieces is generally from about 7 until 11 every day at the moment. But it's in 7 in the morning to 11 at night.
Okay. That's your peak?
That's generally my working day.
And what happens after 11?
I sleep.
You have to go and live in another country and enjoy your siesta time.
I know, I need to do that. Would you ever skydive?
Would I? Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
See, I promised when I turned 50 for charity that I would do a skydive. I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
But I still want to do it. Again, my wife's not overly keen.
I think I'd skydive rather more than go up in a hot air balloon, funnily enough.
Okay, I've done the hot air balloon.
You have?
I'm not great with heights.
No.
And I found that quite scary.
It's funny that the heights thing arrives when you get older. The older you get, the more wary you are about heights.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a youngster in Edinburgh, I was at school in Edinburgh, and in my summer holidays, I used to work for a scaffolding company.
Right.
And I used to be up, 9 floors up, swinging from pole to pole, looking, nothing below me.
Yeah.
Not a care in the world. If I went up there now, my legs would just turn to jelly instantly.
Mine comes from visiting a very tall castle, and we went up to one of the top turrets, and the height of the outside bit was quite low, probably 2 foot high, and I had my 3 small children with me at the time, and I was literally just holding on to them, saying, don't go anywhere near the edge. It was a 160-foot drop on the other side.
Wow.
So from that moment, I literally am having palpitations right now.
Wow.
Your last question, though, Pavel, is what was your dream job as a child? What did you want to be when you grew up?
A doctor.
A doctor? Why a doctor?
Yeah. Because I just wanted to do something that would be useful. I mean, being an actor, it's equally useful. Making people cry, making people laugh, making people question themselves, making people feel good is a nice thing to do. But I always wanted to be a doctor. But when I wanted to be a doctor, you had to have quite high grades in maths,
right,
and in Latin. And I did Latin grammars, and worked really, really hard at the Latin. But the maths, I failed my O-level arithmetic. I'm that bad at maths. So
that's okay.
And I don't believe you have to have those qualifications now. You just study. But that was the entry qualifications of maths and Latin.
And you didn't quite make that.
No.
But you've been an incredible actor for over 50 years.
I don't know about the incredible bit. I have certainly been an actor for all my life.
I've watched quite a lot of your stuff, and I think you're brilliant. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in today, Pavel, for the second time. Really appreciate it. I absolutely adore your company.
Thank you.
I think you're a lovely person, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
I'm bright red now, everybody.
You are. We're finishing off with another track of yours. This is Bobby Blue Band, or Bland, I should say.
Just go with the groove.
Just go with the groove. Thank you, Pavel.
Thank you very much.
Charlotte's up next. I'll see you again next Thursday between 10 and 12. Have a great week.